So many people know about Super Potato in Akihabara, but today we're going to be exploring Tokyo's secret second Super Potato. I have to be honest with you, this flew under my radar for a really long time. I actually discovered it by accident because I just so happened to live in the neighborhood, and one day I was just Googling for retro game shops and I saw it pop up on Google Maps. I tend to avoid Super Potato because the prices are typically way above market value, but since this location is in a less touristy neighborhood, I thought it might be worth checking out. So what do you say we go ahead and explore Tokyo's secret Super Potato? So this location is about a 5-minute walk from Ikebukuro station, which is not bad at all, but it is worth noting that if you are at the other Super Potato in Akihabara, it's going to be about a 30 to 35-minute train ride on the subway, but also if you're going to add walking to that, it's probably altogether going to take you about 45 minutes or so to get from the Akihabara location to the Ikebukuro location. So just keep that in mind if you're planning to hop around between different Super Potato game stores in the same day. All right, so here we are. We are at the entrance, and you can see they've got these cute little signs outside. And then you've got your big Super Potato sign. It says Gamer's Lethal Weapon. And yeah, you walk up through this staircase here. And then up here by the entrance, there's a ton of stuff posted everywhere. Upstairs, there is a card shop. That's what that little ninja sign was. And then yeah, just a ton of stuff here. Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, all kinds of stuff. And on the door here, we have a bunch of signed pieces by various different people in the retro gaming community. All right, so going in the store, we're not going to do a full walkthrough from the entrance. I'm just going to pop around between different consoles and different things of interest that stuck out to me while I was here. So starting out, we just saw some Saturn, and now we're looking at the Dreamcast selection. And they had a pretty nice Dreamcast selection. It's a little bit small, but there were some interesting games that stuck out to me. This one was Runecaster. Not familiar with that one. And then Psychic Force 2012. I was considering picking this up because it was under 2,000 yen with the exchange rate, probably more like $12, $13. And I've never played it. It always stood out as kind of interesting to me. What else do we have here? Some Gundam games. Virtual On. I just love the Japanese artwork for Virtual On the Dreamcast. It's such a cool looking artwork. And of course, Dynamite Deca 2 or Dynamite Cop 2. I love the Sega Saturn game, and I actually don't have the Dreamcast one, so I'd really love to pick that up. Moving down here, we've got a bunch of boxed Game Gear games, which I love to see, and they have a really, really nice selection, especially of RPGs. I don't have a Game Gear, but I do want to pick one up at some point in the future to try out some of these RPGs because they just look so interesting. And yeah, I've always just been kind of fascinated by the Game Gear. Some Mado Monogatari. Really cute little Puyo Puyo RPG series. Lots of cool RPGs for the Game Gear. And then on the side here, they had some loose Game Gear games that you could pick through if you wanted to save a couple bucks without getting the CIB. And then moving down below, Wonderswan, starting out with Star Hearts. I already picked this one up. I got it for quite a bit less at a Surugaya. And that's a little Zelda-style action RPG for the Wonderswan, which I've actually heard you can play that pretty well with without knowing much Japanese. Some different old school franchises. You've got your Final Fantasy, of course. This one is really common. I think, honestly, this is a little bit expensive, even though it's still affordable, about $15. And then Saga. That's one I want to pick up eventually too, but the price is a bit high. Romancing Saga and Wild Card as well. Wild Card is one I really want. And you've got this little interesting game here, which really stood out because it is made by Squaresoft, and I had never heard of that. Of course, you've got your loose Wonderswan cartridges, and you can see a lot of these are really, really cheap. So, like $3, $5, $2 for some of them. Really, really cheap stuff if you want to build up an affordable little collection. And moving on to Saturn, they had a nice sized Saturn collection, but the prices, unfortunately, there was not much that really stood out to me. This day in particular, I was really looking to pick up like $10 games, and I just wasn't seeing a lot of that. They did have this copy of Chome, which is a game I've always been curious about. It just has this really nostalgic low poly look, and at 700 yen, not bad at all. And then this game I wasn't familiar with, but it looks like a little puzzler. And then Master of Monsters, that was also affordable, but I have so many RPGs in my backlog. Nights into Dreams Christmas Nights, not the worst price, but not the best price either. Fantasy Zone, this is one I do want to add to my collection eventually. And Shadows of the Tusk. I'm not too familiar with this game. I do need to go ahead and check out some gameplay. And it's really interesting. It says it supports Sega Network and X-Band for online features. Over here you've got some miscellaneous consoles as well as arcade sticks. Boxed consoles on top. This one was a really fun find. So the Megadrive Play TV, this is, I didn't know about this. It's apparently like, it's just, a plug and play version of the Megadrive that has a really limited library. It looks like it only has 6 games on it, but it has this really cool clear blue Genesis controller. And it is manufactured by Sega Toys, which is not Sega. It is a different company, so to speak, but it's somewhat official. So interesting little artifact there. The Super Cassette Vision. It's a really retro console. PC Engine Shuttle. Boxed Master System, PS3, some Neo Geo CDs. And down here, various little consoles, Mega CD2, and a Turbo Duo, which I am really in the market for, but the price on this was a little bit high. And that's going to be a theme through Super Potato. Even though the prices here are better, in my opinion, than the Akihabara location, they're still Super Potato prices, and you're going to generally get much better deals at like a Surugaya or even like a book off or a hard off, especially if you go a little farther outside of Tokyo. Some interesting controllers here, Denshite Go controllers, as well as this DJ controller for the PS1. And then they have this little PlayStation where you can play Mario Bros. Duck Hunt on this little CRT. But what's really cool is that above it, they have this Famicom box on display, which is a really cool little, more uncommon piece of Nintendo hardware. N64, I thought their N64 selection was really, really weak. They did have a lot of loose cartridge games, but basically no CIB. Maybe like a dozen or so, and just not the best titles. So I was kind of bummed out by that. This game did stand out to me. I believe it's a Japanese exclusive. Actually, I know it's a Japanese exclusive, and it's not one I'm particularly interested in playing, but I always have my eye out for those N64 Japanese exclusives. There aren't that many of them. And I love collecting them. You got various controllers here. As well as some retro HD consoles. And down here you've got some little Kirby squishy candies. I believe that's what they are. It's like a candy bread, it looks like. Yeah, very interesting. I don't know why they are so off color. Like Meta Knight is green and Kirby is orange. But anyway, you've got your Res Special Edition with the Trance Vibrator. Cool to see that CIB. Not too bad of a price. And some various big box PS2 Special Editions, including this little Sunsoft online station package. I'm not really too familiar with this, but it looks like it's some sort of network suite that is by Sunsoft. So I'll need to look in that one more. And they do have a Virtual Boy station. It is up and running. It was working when I was there, but it's hard to pick it up on camera. The camera just did not want to see past the glare on the screen there, but you can play some Virtual Boy if you have curiosity to try it out. Some PS1 and Mega Drive stuff here, and they had a small little selection of Mega CD games as well. The Mega CD is region locked, so that is something you're going to want to consider when picking these up. Lots and lots of PS1 stuff. I'm going to show some footage later, but they definitely... I would say the PS1 selection at this store is probably the biggest selection. Maybe Super Famicom. They've got quite a few of those too, but really, really big PS1 selection. So if you're looking for PS1 imports and you just want to flip through stuff that's not behind a glass case, I mean, this is a great shop to check out. Over here you can see some TurboGrafx and TurboGrafx CD games, as well as a complete inbox PC Engine Duo, which is about the same price as that loose one, which was kind of crazy, and a PC Engine portable LCD monitor. You've got a bunch of different games here. You got a lot of shooters on the PC Engine, some Super Star Soldier, some Gradius, The Legend of Xanadu. Again, I didn't pick up a PC Engine. It's something I really wanted to pick up here in Japan, but I decided to focus on Wonderswan as well as Saturn imports instead. And you can only pick up so much stuff, the budget is limited. So I decided to hold off on PC Engine for now, but I definitely am going to get one in the future. Here we're moving over to some Xbox 360 games as well as soundtracks. So Xbox and Xbox 360 are less common in Japan, but you can find them. And some cool soundtracks here: Assault Suits Valken, Live Alive or Live Alive, some Medabot soundtrack, pretty affordable one there. And here you can see that massive wall of PS1 games I was talking about, just a tremendous selection of PS1 imports, and not as many people play PS1 imports as they do Saturn imports, but there's an awesome selection of Japan exclusive PS1 games, so it's just a fantastic console to import for. Also a nice selection of PS4 and PS3 import games, and the cool thing about those is that they are both region free, so you can just pop the Japanese versions in your US console. I can't speak to Europe, but definitely the US console, and they'll play fine. Here you've got your Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color games, some Final Fantasy, Tactics Ogre, Mega Man 02. I really, really wanted Mega Man 01, but I did not find it complete at any of the stores I was checking out. So I went ahead and ended up actually picking up a loose copy because I just wanted to go ahead and play it. Here they have the Famicom mini series box set. This is really, really rare and super expensive. Some Game Boy Color stuff here. You got your Game Boy Wars. I love that artwork so much. I'm a huge fan of the Wars series, especially Advance Wars. Kirby, Tilt and Tumble. Nemesis, aka Gradius. Seiken Densetsu, also known as the Final Fantasy Adventure here in the US. Some Saga games, Twinbee. And this one was really interesting. So this is a Shinchan Advance card is what it's called, and I had never seen these before. So I went ahead and I did some research on it, and it turns out that it's similar to how we had the Game Boy Advance video series in the US. For these, they had this card reader that you would put in the Game Boy Advance slot, and then you would just buy cards that had different videos on them. So there were some Pokemon ones, Shin-chan, there were a few other series. And yeah, it's an interesting Japan exclusive piece of hardware for the Game Boy Advance. Here are some of those Famicom mini games individually, if you wanted to pick up individual ones. And they had a lot of Super Potato clothes. Here they had some jeans with a patch, some different t-shirts. And here's a bunch of loose Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. And a lot of these are pretty affordable, so it's a great place. You know, if you don't care about CIB, even at Super Potato prices, a lot of these you can just pick up super cheap. You know, you're seeing a lot of Of course, 3,000 yen games, but a lot of 500, 700, 400 yen games. Some Zoids here. Saga. Always love seeing that old Square logo. Some Bomberman. And here we have the Switch and Wii section. I was actually surprised, given how popular the Wii was, how small their selection was. And here you've got some PSP and some Vita, as well as a massive PS2 wall. That's another one where there's a lot of just really great Japan exclusive PS2 imports. Some Switch special editions, including this Gimmick Box Special Edition, which I had not seen before. And here you've got your big box PSP games. And Metal Slug Complete. This is a really cool one. Kind of strange artwork on that one, but I like that it's horizontal. Densha Deco Pocket. Dracula X. Gradius Portable. And this Parodius Portable is one that I really want, but I am not going to pay that price for it. But I'm a huge fan of the Parodius series, and lately I've just been collecting for it more and more. One of my favorite, probably my favorite shooter series. Akibus Trip, another that I believe is a Japan exclusive. Not 100% on that, but Akibus Trip. Lots of different PSP games. And here you can see another view of those Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color games, and this just whole aisle here. Kind of seeing how the store is laid out. You got these cute little hanging plushies. The store has an overall just really cool vibe to it. It feels along the lines of like a Don Quixote, if you've been in one of those where there's like a lot of stuff hanging above you from the ceiling. Here you've got some plushies as well as some Club Nintendo playing cards. I believe most of these, if not all of them, were exclusive to Club Nintendo here in Japan as rewards. And they also have the Club Nintendo Hanafuda playing cards, which are traditional Japanese playing cards. And those are also exclusive to Club Nintendo. I remember back in the day always thinking those are so cool. Some amiibos, and again some plushes. This Kirby one is really cute. Splatoon, Dragon Quest. And here you've got the rare and expensive stuff, of course, behind a glass case. And my only issue here is it's a little bit hard with all of the tags and labels to really, see what's in there. But they do have quite a bit of rare and high-ticket items. They also have these wanted signs for games that they want or need for people to come trade in and how much they'll pay for them. Here you've got that famous red Resident Evil Dreamcast. It's such a cool console variant. As well as this red VMU that I had never seen before. They have some Dreamcast homebrew as well as some Game & Watch systems. Some other LCD games. And here they've got a bunch of newer Dreamcast releases, Xenocrisis, Stormwind. I really want Stormwind, but I really want that first edition artwork. Not a big fan of that second edition artwork that you're looking at right here. But I did think it was cool that they had modern releases and homebrew releases for the Dreamcast. Some of the more expensive Sega Saturn games. Again, a little bit hard to go through, but you can see some here. 3 Dirty Dwarfs. Some Marvel vs. fighting games. Some shooters. Dungeons and Dragons is up there. Cotton 2. Elevator Action Returns. You can see peeking out there. And then moving over here, they've got some more games. Again, these are going to probably be hard to go through if you don't read Japanese because you can't see any of the artwork. But they've got a nice little selection. And they've also got some PC Engine and PC Engine CD games. Some character figures. Some Sega My Cards. The Black Onyx, that one is super rare. Really old school RPG. And some PlayStation games. I didn't know that Sexy Parodies even came out for the Japanese PlayStation. For the longest time, I thought that it was a Saturn exclusive, but there you go, on the Japanese PlayStation. Assault Suit Lanos, Gunstar Heroes, in the Sega Ages series, Time Crisis 4. And over here, I know we're jumping back a bit, but there are also some loose Game Boy Advance games, many of which are fairly affordable. And this was one of my favorites. They have this horror game corner, and I just love it when game stores have these kind of little curated sections. It reminds me of like going to a video rental store back in the day, and they would have like horror picks or action picks. And yeah, here they've got a nice little selection of horror games across all different consoles, retro and modern. So you've got some Saturn, PS1. I've actually heard about this game, and I've been curious to play it. But yeah, Saturn, PS1, Switch, PS4, even the Wonderswan, where they've got Terrors 2. This is a visual novel, horror visual novel. And of course, Sweet Home, the famous proto-Resident Evil game by Capcom. That is very, very expensive, but very cool. I would love to play that one day. And some more PS2 horror. Yeah, just a cool little nice touch for a retro game store. And here we have the Nintendo TV game. So this is actually Nintendo's first console before the Famicom. And then you've got some Famicoms and Super Famicoms, as well as this Hypershot controller. I'm always interested in some of these Japan exclusive kind of strange little controllers for the Famicom and Super Famicom. And down here you've got some boxed Famicoms, including this well, not a console, but including this accessory here, the Vision controllers. These were wireless controllers. I believe they used infrared. This one was really tempting. The price is not too bad. These AV Famicoms can tend to get pretty expensive. And a nice boxed Famicom. And here we've got this poster for action puzzle game Noon by Micro Cabin. I don't know anything about this game, but the artwork just really stood out to me. And here we are walking through the Super Famicom aisle, and you can see it's two sides. One side is all complete in box. I shouldn't say all complete in box, I lied. There's loose games down here. But one side is mostly complete in box, and the other side is mostly loose cartridges. Here you've got complete in box on top. Lots and lots of CIB, and here you've got the loose stuff. So it's about 1.5 rows of complete in box, and then 2.5 rows of just loose carts to go through. Just a crazy selection of Super Famicom stuff. Super Famicom is always a console that I really recommend collecting for. If you've got a Super Nintendo and you want to just dip your toes into import collecting, it's really easy to do the Super Famicom mod and have your regular US Super Nintendo play Super Famicom games. And they are relatively cheap, especially if you pick up the loose carts. And yeah, it's just a fun way to experiment with import gaming on the cheap. Lots of cool Japan exclusive RPGs. Far East of Eden, this one that never came out here. Really nice looking graphics on this one. And here you've got some more Super Potato clothing selection. So this is Miracle Kids. I'm not familiar with what Miracle Kids is, but yeah, they've got a bunch of those. Just some different retro gaming t-shirts. And here you've got your various cables and controllers and different peripherals like that guitar controller down there, some drum pads. And this one is really, really cool. So this is a very uncommon Sega SC3000 personal computer. I just think these old school Japanese PCs that are built into the keyboard are just so insanely cool, and I would love to have one in my collection at some point. Especially this, like, it just looks right out of an 80s anime. It is so cool. Big price tag on that one though. And here you've got your Famicom games. Lots of loose Famicom carts, and this is, in my opinion, nothing to write home about because it is so common to see loose Famicom carts all over Japan. All kinds of stores have them. I'd say in terms of retro gaming, they're probably the most common, easiest to find, and some of the most affordable in Japan of all the different consoles. Complete in box Famicom is not quite the same though. They are a little bit harder to come by. So they've got a nice little selection of CIB Famicom games here, including this one, which I looked up, and it is actually a board game that uses a Famicom cartridge to help you play the game. So very interesting. And it also comes with some metal game pieces. It comes with a big map. Really interesting little unique Famicom game. Some Rockman. Love the artwork on that Rockman 4 box. And we're moving on to DS. I was actually surprised. I thought given how successful the DS was, the selection would be a little bit bigger. But it's a lot of just repeats of kind of shovelware games. Not this one, though. I'm not familiar with this one. It almost looked like a bootleg to me. Yeah, just an okay DS selection. They also had some video game themed underwear. You got some Mario Bros. And some Zelda down there. So lots of video game clothing here. I think we can see the entrance down there and that big Mario statue you'll see when you walk in. And here they've got another cabinet with some more expensive games on various consoles like Wonderswan as well as Megadrive. Of course, I was out here Wonderswan hunting, so I was looking to see if I could find anything. I really want Pocket Fighter, but I want to get it CIB. I'm trying to do all of my Wonderswan games CIB. And some of the other prices on these games were just so much more expensive than what I was seeing at Suragaya. It just really dissuaded me from picking anything up. But they did have one thing for a really good price, and that was this Wonderswan headphone adapter. So if you don't know, the Wonderswan and Wonderswan Collar do not have headphone ports. You need an adapter, and it goes for a pretty penny on eBay in the US. So I picked it up for about half or a third of that price, and I was very happy to add that to my collection. Some different odds and ends here, some mini consoles, various accessories, and then some more expensive complete in box Mega Drive games. And then they've got this little section here where they've got some really discount games as well as books. I wanted to pick up so many of these books, but I've been shipping so many Gundam magazines back to the US, and they're so heavy. The shipping price is crazy, and they're also heavy to just bring with you. But I really want these perfect catalog books. I'm going to try and see if there's a way I can more affordably get these back to the States with me. But oh my god, this one is so cool. A Bandai console perfect catalog that is just so cool. I would love to have so many of these, especially the PC98, PC88, PC Engine, and Wonderswan, or just Bandai ones. So cool. It's really hard to find comprehensive guides of those catalogs in English, so Japanese is really the way to go. And I think it's worth it even if you're just, looking through and not really understanding most of what is written in there. I still think they're worthwhile. And this one was really cool too. This Astro City one. And PS2, of course. Such cool books. And down below they had some additional books, as well as some strategy guides. This one is kind of cool, all about Namco. And here they have some more gaming books, some Dragon Quest. These are cool, very, very big retro vibes on these. Lots of old school stuff from the Famicom era. And here we've got some consoles, including this Hello Kitty Game Boy Pocket. That is a very cool one to see. And just some various handhelds. I know the handhelds are very popular, but the prices there were pretty inflated. They did have this Final Fantasy 1 Wonderswan color, which is a very cool little box set. I did pick up the complete Final Fantasy 2 Wonderswan color at Suragaya when I was out in Shizuoka. I'm going to share that in an upcoming video, but that one was cool to see as well. And yeah, that's about going to do it for my little tour of Tokyo's secret Super Potato. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. I think this store is a fun little off-the-beaten-path retro game store that not a ton of people cover because so many people are just focused on Akihabara in Tokyo, but they have quite a few interesting things. And like I said, there's always deals to be found if you go digging. I was able to find a really good deal on that Wonderswan color headphone adapter, and there were a few other inexpensive games as well. So that's about going to do it, and thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, definitely consider joining the channel membership, where you can get access to some exclusive videos and also some additional perks for the YouTube channel, such as emotes and different emojis and things like that. And also, don't be shy. Feel free to join our Discord. We have a really great active Discord community. We've recently passed over 200 members in the Discord, so that is really awesome. And yeah, it's a really nice, welcoming community where we talk about, Gunpla, retro games, anime, all kinds of cool stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you guys, and I will catch you guys in the next video. All right, bye.